participate in a process of clarifying the truth of what really is. Where were we when you said something? Yes, I wanted to talk, say a few words about remembering. Now, what is remembering? Yes.
Bring back to your mind.
Yes, it is a brain function. It's a human effort at storing information and retrieving it. Therefore, it interferes with understanding. Is that clear?
No, I don't see why. I don't understand.
Well, we will have to explain. You see, accepting, rejecting, believing, disbelieving, agreeing, disagreeing, trusting, mistrusting, remembering, forgetting, these are all ego functions. Therefore, they interfere with understanding. Now, is there a spiritual equivalent to remembering? Is there? You know it?
There has to be.
There has to be.
Because something will come to you. That is the effect.
How do we call that? It's not remember. What?
Knowing.
It's awareness then.
It's
Receptivity.
Recollection.
recollection. Recall.
Right.
Recall. We call back some knowledge. We rely on the spiritual faculty of recall.
And the difference between recalling and remembering, it probably doesn't make any difference, actually.
A radical difference.
Okay.
Yes?
The problem that to remember, say, keep out of the mind and then bringing it back, whereas what we really understand and know is always with us. It isn't out and then in. And that thing.
Yes.
And then we make part of that.
You see, remembering is an ego function. Recall is a spiritual faculty of calling on the big, great computer in the sky to retrieve the information which is needed at a particular moment. Now, remembering is believed that the faculty to remember is diminishing with age. You said so. How about the faculty of recall?
It improved, but as we go on, we ought to get nearer together.
Right.
Okay, we got to do these.
Isn't that marvelous?
We're going to test you out next week. So Polly White and I are going to have just to see if we can make this reality. These are words coming forth.
Well, you're studying to be spiritual guides, and it is fair to expect for you to understand spiritual faculties of man. After all, a spiritual guide needs to awaken in other people their spiritual faculties. And how shall we be spiritual guide unless we understand clearly the difference between ego function and spiritual faculties. Yes.
I'm sensing a kind of a dualism that is sitting right when you say that I could reach toward understanding myself as a spiritual being. I'm expecting more in view of the incarnation. And therefore, when you say yes, that I should awaken in others the faculty of recollection of the spiritual God, I'm expecting more, as if that faculty should also inform the remembering faculty on the brain of ego level, because that's what people are studying. And not to do that is the dualism of which I speak. In other words, I'm trying to make room for an incarnational approach that would invade the ego functions here, because that's where I struggle. That's what I'm sensing is the struggle here. That remembering is good because it brings things to light in a way, but not in a way that admits that I live and move and have my being with that spiritual faculty.
By the way, we are not interested in incarnation. We're interested in excarnation.
Okay, the danger for me in that is the dualism.
Could you elaborate on that more?
What is excarnation?
Out of the body.
Transcending material existence and the ego, transcendence of the ego in every area of possibility. So, there is only a dualism if you are very much attached to your ego. If you are eager and grateful to transcend your ego, then there is no dualism. There is only God, and there is only the glorious liberty of the children of God. And let us not entangled again with the yoke of psychological bondage, because spiritual guidance transcends psychology, psychiatry, and all the other things. Of course, if you don't want to travel this road, that's all right too. But that's what it is. If you signed up for this course.
But traveling alone, there's one foot behind and one foot ahead. And that kind of a journey is precisely the struggle that I think, as Paul is suggesting when he says, what I will, I don't do, and what I don't do, something. So that I'm still looking for a way of not making it so clear-cut.
Yes, I know.
That these faculties that are ego-functional, and to which I am very much attached, want to be on that way. So I'm admitting to myself of an incarnational invasion of what you're saying. And that to me would be my struggle.
In this world ye shall have tribulation. But be of good cheer. It is possible, if we are really interested,
Overcome?
overcome.
Well, Jesus said, I have overcome. That was the way that verse ended.
Yes.
I have overcome.
But if he has overcome,
Through him.
and if he cannot, then what's the use?
Yeah, through
Right? Whatever he did, he said, "What the works that I do shall ye do also." Either are we followers of Christ or not. And if we are following Him, we have to be committed. And we cannot drag our feet, so to speak. If you want to drag your feet, you take courses in psychotherapy. But this is a course in spiritual guidance.
Did you define spiritual guidance for us? Are you pursuing it?
We spoke about it yesterday, last week.
Could I ask the group something? I'm sensing something I can't quite put my hand on. And it comes out when I hear the words like overcome. Excarnation. I'm back to that koan. What seems,
Do you know it?
there's something here and there's something not here. There's something truthful here.
Can you
something
repeat
that
the
I can't-
koan?
What?
Can you repeat the koan?
I'm not sure.
Well, it's important. Maybe it will help you.
Things are not what they appear to be, neither are they otherwise.
Right.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask the group. Maybe we need time just to move with this, to tangle with it.
Sure. Sure.
That's what I wanted.
I don't know. I want to. Is it anything like this that you might be feeling uncomfortable, or I might be feeling uncomfortable with the thought that we can pull ourselves up, as it were, by our own bootstraps, that the overcoming and the explanation idea and the transcendence and all of this are something that if we would just put our minds to or whatever to that we can do, as opposed to a kind of yielding to the power of the grace of God, which is sort of has a different direction, like a down through us direction, which we got to say anything to it. I've been through this before, and that's always one of the but not it. I myself feel bothered here because I feel we're interrupting the flow, and as we get a bigger picture and filled in with more details, I'm developing more understanding. And come out as the same block.
Well, don't worry. It is irrepressible.
Temporary blockage.
We shall transcend even that.
That's great.
Oh, yes, very good. May I start off with a therapeutic recommendation?
Please.
Some of you are complaining of having your circuits overloaded. And if you want to benefit from what is being said and not suffer unduly from the shock of unusual information, try not to remember anything that is being said here. Don't try to remember. Just let it do its own work. It is not necessary for us to exert a mental effort to understand anything. As a matter of fact, the harder we try to understand what is being said and to remember it, the less likely it will be that these understandings will occur. So just relax and let whatever you hear do its own work. All you need is to cultivate an interest. That's the only requirement God has from us, to be sincerely interested. Because actually, there's nothing else we can really do. In the area of spiritual growth, if we are ambitious, we are like a gardener who is trying to open up a rosebud. So we have to be patient and maintain an interest, a sincere interest. Because Hora is not going to be able to enlighten you. Hora can point in a certain direction, and he can explain to you and help clear the way, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make plain a highway in the desert. But if you are sincerely interested in understanding, it will come to you by the grace of God. You see, this type of education is entirely different from any other kind of education. Ordinary education requires an effort and hard work. In spiritual education, effort and hard work are a hindrance. What is needed is sincerity and interest. Because they are the basis of receptivity. You see, God's grace is flooding the whole universe all the time. But there is not enough receptivity in human consciousness to accept it or to receive it. And therefore, the blessings are very scarce. See, God is not stingy with His love and with His power, but we are too distracted. And one of the main distractions of ambitious people is effort. What is ambition?
Ego.
Yes, it is an ego function. What does the word ambition mean? Ambivalence. What is ambivalence? What?
Equally weighted.
Being of two
Mind.
minds about something. Now, in ambition, we have this word ambi, which means double, and ischen is for el, ire, itum. which means to move in two directions at the same time.
Chief, that surprises me because I would have classified ambition more the other way, is to single-mindedly go after something.
Yeah. That's what we think, but the word itself reveals that ambitious people are caught up in the dualism of human intending. You cannot be successful without being a failure at the same time. And that's ambition. Ambitious people are successful and failing at the same time. That's the tragedy of the human dualistic mode of being in the world. So instead of ambition, we aspire for understanding. And we cultivate an interest in spiritual reality. And by the grace of God, it will come to us like a white dove, descending on our consciousness. What are you letting?
Speaking of the story about Watson, the structure of the DNA, when he was in Oxford, apparently a very hard to play tennis in case women. My colleague said of him, he does not include hard thinking and hard work.
There is a story about Oppenheimer, the nuclear physicist, who was observed staring out of a window for a long time. And somebody asked him, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Don't you see I'm working?"
When they had been starting to stand and down, early in the morning, it was this energy and so forth. Then he went up and he got one on his horse and dashed away every direction.
At the same time. Now, we also must understand that receptivity is not a passive state. Our dualistic inclinations would say either you are ambitious, which is an active state, or you're not ambitious, and that is a passive state. And receptivity, therefore, may be misinterpreted as passivity. Now, if it is neither active nor passive, what in the world is it? Beg your pardon?
Isn't there an active receptivity?
What would you call an active receptivity?
Mentally on tiptoe.
Yes, it is attentiveness, right?
Yeah.
Attentiveness and responsiveness. How many of you know how to float on water? Almost everybody knows. When you are floating on water, are you active or are you passive? You would say passive?
Okay. Wow. I'm tough for that water. That's not good.
Is that active?
Good.
If you're thin, you have to kick to stay up.
We're like,
Yeah.
Floating is neither active nor passive. What is
But
it?
it is putting yourself in a certain position.
It's attentive. What are we attentive to when we are floating?
staying relaxed.
A whole environment. Part of the water, you're part of the air, you're part of your own body.
You're watching out for motorboats.
Depends on where you're floating.
What are we yeah. We are attentive to an invisible power called
Buoyancy.
buoyancy. Isn't that interesting? How do we call this what we were just saying? A young lady in the red pullover. What are we saying now? It's an analogy, right? What is it analogous to? What is this analogy analogous to? Yes? Right, exactly. Is that clear? So analogies can be very helpful, but of course they have their limitations. So floating is neither active nor passive. The search for enlightenment is neither ambitious nor lazy. It is reverent, loving, grateful, attentiveness, and responsiveness to that which reveals itself from moment to moment. Shall we repeat it? This is an important existentially valid position which we need to learn. Spiritual enlightenment is facilitated by a reverent, loving, alert attentiveness and responsiveness to that which reveals itself from moment to moment. Yes.
Now, what I need to know, I guess, is what I can see this, and when I'm thinking, Clarina, I need to effort on this later.
Yeah.
What pulls me away from this? I mean, why can't I stay there?
Yes. Well, that is called distraction.
Yeah.
The world is a great distraction. Everything in the world is nothing but a giant distraction from reality. And it is constantly working against our receptivity to God.
What do you mean by the will?
Everything that is against God is the world.
Against God. In a cosmic theology where the world is related in God, is related to God, expresses God. There's incompleteness. That would be a world which would be in harmony with us. True?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I need more precision on what is meant by the world. Do we mean the biblical sense that the devil is in control of the cosmos and the forces of light have the task of overcoming that darkness? Or what about a Pinardian view where there's an emergent and evolutionary spiral structure where everything is in some sense in God but incomplete? What in that world would be against us except man's sin?
You're asking very hard questions. Let us just proceed slowly. Maybe you will understand after a while. Okay? Be patient and let it sink in. Suffice it to say that at this point we are trying to understand the existentially valid attitude which facilitates understanding to unfold. And what interferes with it is distraction. Anything internal, external, worldly, cosmic, operational, whatever, interferes with that basic, reverent, loving, receptive position. We can call it the world. The world of distraction. Yes.
What's your definition of spiritual enlightenment? It seems to me that traditionally that would be considered gaining a state of grace.
Yes, right.
Would that be?
But conscious grace. You see, there is also unconscious grace. What we are seeking and praying for is conscious grace.
But this would be gaining a state of conscious grace.
Yes, right. That's enlightenment. That's enlightenment. Yeah.
But I see the possibility of a problem arising where these distractions occur, and one can be so disturbed over distractions, and people often are consciously enter into the discipline of prayer. And of course, the authors and the writers speak of this. But I thought Henry Nouwen, to bring up a familiar figure again, answered that so beautifully for us the other day when he said that praying without ceasing, is thinking in the presence of God. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's very defined what I experienced, but it was so clear the way he put it. But for me, that sort of allows you to tenderly deal with your distractions and maybe evoke from them something of great value, rather than the other extreme, which we tend to make you get irritated with them and try to push them out of the way and then judge yourself because you let them come in and get frustrated and all of that, which is a negative extreme. True, there may be distractions, but who knows what blessing some of them may bring with them.
Yeah.
And let's not define distraction in a different way, but if you have an overall attitude that God is hovering over you at all times, and whatever you are conscious of thinking of, He will help you sort out. You don't have that judgmental sense of distraction. They can be blessings as well, or might be blessings.
Now, if distractions do not distract you, then they are not distractions.
That's real existentialism. There you are. If it's not what it seems to be, it is not.
There is an interesting, something very interesting happens when we come to realize God to a sufficient degree. Then distractions come to our attention, but they do not come into our experience. Is that clear? Distractions come to our attention, but they do not come into our experience. What does that mean?
It'd be a lot more clear for me if you could give me an example of it.
Yeah.
I know when I'm working,
Yeah.
that all kinds of things can be going on around me, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
Am I really concentrating? I'm there.
Right.
I'm aware of it, but it's not
Right.
distracting.
Yes. You see, if a distraction comes into experience, we get disturbed by it. So there can be distractions which do not distract. And therefore they are not distractions. They are just phenomena.
This is when we identify with it. When the distractions, so when we identify with it, then we
No, we
Then
feel
they become
threatened or
really
annoyed. Right. Right. Distractions are phenomena. What are phenomena?
Here, something which appears.
Right. We speak of this world as the phenomenal world, right? What does that mean?
The appearance of a noumenon.
That's noumenon. That's not phenomenon.
No, I mean, it's the appearance of
Yeah.
like expression.
Phenomena are, what are they? The word phenomenon, what does that mean? Where does it come from? It comes from the Greek, and it is composed of two root words, phos, which means light, and apophansis, which means statement. Another explanation of the word phenomenon is phenomenon, which means light. So phenomena are appearances. So the phenomenal world is the world of appearances.
Seems, but not really is.
Right. And the great tool of existential psychotherapy is phenomenological analysis. And we shall come to that some other time, but today suffice it to say that all distractions are phenomena. They are things that seem to be, they are appearances, but they are not realities. And we can say they are thoughts appearing as form. There was a psychoanalyst in Vienna by the name of Steckel. Have you ever heard of Steckel?
Wilhelm?
No? Steckel.
Wilhelm?
Wilhelm Steckel, right. And he was known to have said that writing things down is the first step towards forgetting.
But you can even forget before that.
I usually write down the things that I think and would have trouble remembering and then forget it because I know I can look it up.
That's right. That's right.
But Dr. Hora, you make it very easy to take nerves so you can do terminizing.
Yeah.
Cora Brady talks so fast, can you keep up with it?
Well, I do speak slowly, but I don't know whether nice. Yeah, this is very interesting to contemplate. What would you rather to have knowledge or to understand something.
But reviewing your notes, I think.
And this,
I'm not trying to forbid it.
No, no,
fine.
I'm responding very seriously
Yeah.
here. I think that taking notes, unless you review them almost immediately, is a self-deception. But if you work over them that same night or early the next morning, while you still can remember it, and pick out from that, there's still the essence, particularly the new ideas, the things that are new or the things that give you trouble.
Yeah.
I don't do this ideally, but I mean, I don't do it perfectly, but I could work at it.
Yes.
But I think that that is the best compromise for me, and I've had a lot of experience trying it different ways.
Well, let's see a show of hands. How many of you have reviewed your notes after?
Perfect.
Well, that's usually
surprised.
Well, I here with one up, so refresh me, even if I come back 2 weeks later, we prove.
Yeah.
Well, I think this may be the part of the reduction of the, or the span of recollection, Tom, which is a definite part of it. You just got to deal with it the best you can. And I certainly used to do that. I used to feel once I had it down, I could go back to it anytime and do it.
You
How I only had to do the part. If I could go right in with what's being said and strip everything else, it becomes a part of you, but I can't do that. If I'm divided between the two.
do this.
Well, when you really want to experience something like Henry Nowlan, I don't like to take notes. I just like to assimilate it and not care whether I remember all the specific ideas or not. But I don't think it has anything to do with age. I think just any time.
You're stuck on Henry now.
Yeah. You need notes for reviewing for an exam. If you're going to cover a whole course, you can't remember that whole course without notes. You can't review or your work for comprehension without notes.
Yeah.
I think there's something like journal keeping that's related here, at least it has been for me, since I've begun to keep the journal a little bit more consistently. You do forget details of a day where your feelings and the trend of your feelings might be very significant, and had you not forgotten it, you would have the benefit of that you're the type of person that I am, which I'm not analytical enough about my memories. It helps you figure, and it reminds me too of journals I kept when I traveled as a child in Europe, and my gosh, I can go back and read those over today and just relive, almost literally relive the trip, whereas the outcome, it's just a blur, it's just a few highlights from it, So in that sense, notes and journal keeping, I related, and I think so. You have to be honest with yourself, and if you're scribbling down too much, truly you didn't lose the spark of what's actually happening there. So like you can be selective and know yourself well enough, the balance is right.
Stretch that look.
Would we like to do an experiment, and today nobody takes notes?
I wouldn't say. You just do whatever you like to do.
And what happened?
Would you like to know the meta-psychiatric principle of learning?
No.
If you're
Tell us this thing.
yes, that that which we understand, we don't need to remember. And that which we remember, we don't bother to understand. Put this on your head.
Yeah.
That which we understand, we don't need to remember. And that which we remember, we don't bother to understand. This is an epistemological principle. You
And
know
you
what
support that, right?
epistemology is? Yet? Everybody?
How we know what we know.
Yes, right. It is the study of the nature of knowledge. It's a very important aspect of metapsychiatry. Because after all, it is what we really know that has an impact on our mode of being in the world. Not what we know about, but what we really know. And it is a great struggle for all of us in the field of study of any field to discover the secret of learning. Because if we are only knowing about something, then we are only well informed. We have information. But that has no existential relevancy. Only what we really know has existential impact and transforming quality, energy, this energy in what we understand.
What
Yes.
we're saying here, that which we know, that which has interacted, is that which we have integrated and made part of our whole world.
Yes, right.
Yes, but
So it's not out there, but in here.
Right.
You know.
We could.
But we don't bother to understand. That bothers me a little because I am not totally integrated. I may remember things and not understand them at all.
Yeah.
And maybe 20 years down the road, I will go back to what I remember
Yeah.
and make a new integration with,
Yes.
new info.
Yes.
And it seems to me that's an essential process.
Yes,
It's a
right.
part of the learning faculty.
The learning process, then, especially the process of understanding, is a fascinating study. Because understanding is something that we cannot do. Right?
Right.
Here we are back to this issue that there are things in life which are vitally important to us, which we cannot do. Now, how do you partake in something which you cannot do?
Well, it's never to but toward.
Beg your pardon?
It is never to but toward.
Toward.
Toward, yes.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Isn't that-
But still?
That's where the
Still, we all realize that to understand the truths of various issues is vitally important for all of us. Yet, it is something that we cannot actively bring about.
You call the expressing of that fall into the new or the pond? Could you say that one could express understanding?
The word express is a semantic curiosity. You see, we can volitionally express ideas, behavior, affection, emotion. It is a volitional process. We can do it. However, there are certain qualities which we cannot express at will. We mentioned love last week. If we are trying to express love at will, then it will be artificial and lead to problems. We deceive ourselves and we deceive our loved ones.
We're not talking about willing it and doing it. It is expressed sometimes
Yes.
without the will.
Yeah. I'll take, for instance, a flower. A flower is expressing beauty. But this kind of expression is entirely different than what we express volitionally. Now, similarly, beauty, harmony, integrity, love, joy, peace, assurance, wisdom, freedom, health. These are qualities which express themselves through man. If we want to actively, volitionally express these qualities, then we become inauthentic. You see? So, existentialism emphasizes the importance of authenticity of being. The human experience is fraught with falsehood, conscious and unconscious falsehood, because we do not clearly differentiate between what is genuine and what is put on. So authenticity of being is very important for health and for fulfillment in life, but it requires a great deal of commitment, attention, and understanding. We have to become very perceptive of what is genuine and what is false. What just seems to be and what really is. Right?
One of the question.
Yes. There are many things in life which seem to be, but are not really. Now let's go back to the issue of understanding. Here again, authenticity and radical sincerity is required. Because we can very easily fool ourselves that we know something, while we only know about it. This is called also intellectualism. Now, intellectualism is fundamentally fraudulent. Every intellectual statement is a lie, and the father of it. Because when we make a statement, an intellectual statement, we pretend that we know something. And actually, it is not true. We don't really know that. We only know about it. So the essence of intellectuality is fraudulence. Every time we make an intellectual statement, we are lying.